The envelope from my parents arrived on a Tuesday, sealed with that old wax stamp they used like it made them royalty. Red as fresh blood, mocking the life I'd scraped together from scraps. Inside, a single sheet. David, you've dragged our name through the mud long enough. You and those children are a burden we can no longer bear. Consider this your final severance. I crumpled it in my fist, the paper cutting into my palm like the words carved into my gut. And that's when I noticed the lottery ticket peeking from under the stack of unpaid bills on the kitchen table. Forgotten, a stupid impulse buy from last week's grocery run. My hands shook as I smoothed it out, the numbers blurring through hot tears. 7-14-22-36-49. Powerball 12. The TV in the corner flickered with the evening draw replay. And there they were, matching one by one like fate's cruel joke finally flipping the script. $200 million. Holy shit. I sank to the linoleum floor, the cold seeping through my jeans, and whispered to the empty room, "We're free." Even as the echo of my father's voice, cold, unyielding, bounced off the peeling wallpaper. "You're no son of mine." That night, as the boys, Tommy, 8 and all gangly limbs and questions, and little Ben, 5 with his gap-toothed grin and endless energy, slept tangled in their shared twin bed, I sat on the edge of the mattress, watching their chests rise and fall in the moonlight slicing through the blinds. Adopted them 3 years back from a foster system that chewed up dreams like cheap gum, and every day since had been a battlefield. Double shifts at the auto shop, ramen nights pretending it was gourmet, and the constant tightrope of loving them fierce enough to make up for the world's indifference. My parents? They'd washed their hands the day I came out at 22. Fresh from community college with a mechanic certification and a heart full of fool's hope. "Fairy tales don't pay bills, David," Mom had said, her voice brittle as the china she collected but never used. Dad just nodded, eyes on his Bible, as if Leviticus had a chapter on single dads raising kids who weren't blood. But Anthony? He crashed into my world like a summer storm over Lake Michigan. Unpredictable, electric, the kind that leaves you breathless and begging for more. We'd met 6 months earlier at the rec center in Milwaukee, where the air smelled of chlorine and desperation. Parents herding kids through swim lessons while I wrestled Tommy into floaties he swore made him look like a dumb penguin. Anthony was there coaching the junior league basketball, all lean muscle and easy smiles, his dark curls damp from the humidity, coaching a pack of tweents who hung on his every word like he was Magic Johnson reborn. He was a teacher, high school history of all things, 32, with a laugh that cut through the chaos like a lifeline tossed into rough waters. "Hey, need a hand?" he'd called out, spotting me mid-fray with Ben dangling off my back like a monkey. I turned, and there he was, hazel eyes crinkling at the corners, a faded badger's tee clinging to his chest, and a dimple that hit me like a sucker punch. "Looks like you're outnumbered." I laughed. First real one in weeks and handed over the floaties. Outnumbered? Try outgunned. These two think bedtime's a suggestion. From there, it snowballed. Coffee after swim class turned into park picnics, where Anthony would hoist Ben onto his shoulders and chase Tommy through the grass, their squeals mixing with the gulls crying over the lake. He'd talk about his own fractured family, divorced parents in Chicago, a sister who ghosted after coming out, and I'd spill about mine, the ones who'd traded love for legacy the minute I said, "I'm gay, and I'm staying that way." With him, it didn't feel like confession. It felt like coming home. We'd steal moments in his cramped apartment overlooking the Milwaukee River, hands brushing over shared plates of pierogi from the corner Polish deli, conversations drifting from the Stonewall riots to why Ben's favorite dinosaur was a triceratops. Horns for defense, Dad, like you. But romance in the trenches of single parenthood? It was fireworks muffled by dirty diapers and school runs. Still, Anthony saw me. Not the grease under my nails or the exhaustion etching lines around my eyes, but the guy who'd fight God himself for those boys. "You're their hero, David," he'd murmur one night, his breath warm against my neck as we lay on his couch, the city lights painting us in silver. "And mine." My heart stuttered, that old fear whispering I didn't deserve it, but I pulled him closer anyway, our kisses soft and searching, like mapping uncharted stars. The family reunion invite came like a grenade through the mail slot 3 weeks after the draw. I'd cashed the ticket quietly. Lump sum after taxes, still a gut punch of $120 million, and squirreled it away in a trust for the boys, a modest house down payment in escrow, and enough to quit the shop without the world noticing yet. But my parents, blissfully ignorant, firing off their annual polite reminder of the holiday gathering in their Kenosha McMansion, complete with the passive-aggressive P.S. Family heals wounds. Consider attending with the children. Alone. Anthony found me staring at it over breakfast, his hand covering mine on the Formica table. You gonna go? Hell no. I shoved it aside, but the pull was there, that toxic tether of blood thicker than regret. The boys deserved grandparents, didn't they? Even shitty ones? But, maybe, for them. He squeezed my fingers, his thumb tracing circles that grounded me. Then I'm coming. Back up, babe. Always. The drive to Kenosha was a funeral procession in slow motion. I-94 humming under tires slick with November rain, Tommy quizzing me on turkey facts from the back seat, Ben humming off-key to some Disney tune on Anthony's phone. Anthony drove, one hand on the wheel, the other laced with mine over the console. Solid, unspoken promise. My stomach knotted tighter with each mile marker, memories flashing like bad lightning. Dad's belt cracking against the barn wall after I acted funny, with the neighbor boy at 16. Mom's silent tears at my wedding that never happened, the one to a girl I dated to keep peace. We pulled into the cul-de-sac at dusk, the house glowing like a false beacon. White siding, manicured lawn, Christmas lights already strung in defeatist cheer. My sister Lisa met us at the door, her smile plastic as the poinsettias on the mantel. David, and the boys. Wow, they've grown. Her eyes flicked to Anthony, lingering on our joined hands, then away like she'd touched fire. Mom's in the kitchen. Dad. The air inside was thick with pot roast and unspoken verdicts. Mom hugged the boys stiffly, cooing over Ben's drawing of a family T-Rex. But her gaze on me was appraising, wounded. Dad loomed in the den, nursing a scotch, his nod curt. Didn't think you'd show. Times change, I said, forcing levity. Anthony's presence a shield at my side. Dinner was a minefield. Small talk about Lisa's perfect suburban life. Husband, mortgage, golden retriever. While the boys fidgeted, Tommy whispering questions about the fancy plates. Anthony charmed. Easy anecdotes about school field trips drawing laughs. But under the table, my knee bounced like a jackhammer. Then Dad leaned back, clearing his throat like he was addressing Congress. David, we've been thinking about the boys, their family, blood or not, but raising them alone is a burden. On you. On us, if we're honest. The fork slipped from my fingers, clattering like a gunshot. Mom's eyes widened, but she didn't contradict. We just want what's best, she murmured, voice small. Best. Anthony's tone was velvet over steel, but I waved him off, heat rising in my chest. You mean convenient? I'm a burden. Remember? Me and those children. Your words, not mine. The table froze, Lisa's husband coughing into his napkin. Dad's face reddened, veins bulging. Don't twist it. We're offering help, real help. A trust, maybe. But you need to settle down. Properly. With a woman, you mean? The words tasted like ash. Tommy's eyes darted between us, wide and hurt. Ben started to whimper. Anthony stood, chair scraping. We're leaving. Now. He gathered the boys with quiet efficiency, his arm around my shoulders a lifeline as we stormed out, rain lashing the windshield like applause. Back in Milwaukee, the apartment felt like sanctuary. The boys tucked in with extra stories, their questions deflected with promises of better holidays. Anthony and I collapsed on the couch, his head on my chest, heartbeat syncing with mine. You okay? He whispered. Not yet. But in his arms, the fracture mended a stitch at a time. Little did I know, the real storm was brewing. Not from family, but from shadows closer than blood. The weeks blurred into a haze of guarded euphoria. The money was a ghost in my accounts, untouched beyond the house closing. A 4-bedroom craftsman on the east side with a yard for the boys to claim as their kingdom. I quit the shop with a handwritten note to my boss, the one who'd covered shifts when fevers hit, promising coffees on me forever. David, you deserve this, he'd said, clapping my shoulder, oblivious to the windfall. Anthony helped pack, his laughter echoing through boxes as we unearthed Tommy's hidden comic stash and Ben's collection of bottle caps for pirate treasure. But the letter from my parents lingered like a bruise, pulsing with every what if. What if they meant it? What if reconciliation was possible, not on their terms but ours? I drafted emails, polite, probing, deleting them before dawn. Anthony caught me once, 2 a.m., screen glow carving hollows under my eyes. "They're not worth the real estate in your head," he said, pulling me to bed, his body curving into mine like a question mark resolving to certainty. Our love was a quiet fire, mornings tangled in sheets, his fingers tracing the scars on my knuckles from shop fights long past. Evenings with the boys building forts from couch cushions, Anthony's voice narrating epic battles where single dads always triumphed. Then came the betrayal, sharp as a rusted blade. It started with a call from cousin Mark, Dad's sister's boy, the golden child who'd skated through life on family favors, now a real estate broker in Madison with a smile like a used car salesman's. "Heard your flush, Dave. Family grapevine." "How?" "I told no one but Anthony and my lawyer, sworn to vaults." But Mark pressed, "Look, investment opportunity. Off books but killer returns. For old time's sake." I hung up uneasy, but he persisted. Texts, voicemails, showing up at the new house with blueprints and a bottle of bourbon. "Your folks mentioned your liquid. Let me help. We're blood, man." The word twisted, but isolation gnawed. Anthony was swamped with end-of-semester grading, the boys adjusting to their new school with wobbly steps. Mark's pitch, a surefire development deal, my seed money flipping into fortunes. Think of the kids. Legacy, Dave. Against my gut, I wired a test amount, 50 grand, pocket change now, from an anonymous LLC I'd set up. Anthony found out over dinner, his fork pausing mid-air.
David, no.
Family doesn't mean family. His eyes, usually warm, held storm clouds. "Promise me that's it." "I promise." But doubt seeded, and Mark's updates flowed. "Deal's hot. Double your money by spring." Lies, I learned later, funneled straight to his poker debts and a mistress in Eau Claire. The climax hit like a freight train on a fogged December morning. I'd taken the boys to the Milwaukee public market for hot cider and people watching, Anthony meeting us after his run. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. A voicemail that dropped the world from under me. "Dad." Voice cracking. "David, it's Mark. He confessed. Stole from you. Said it was for us, for the family fund. We're ruined if you press charges. Please, son." Mercy. Ruined? The irony burned. I forwarded it to my lawyer, hands numb, then called Anthony, voice breaking. "Meet me at home. Now." He arrived in a blur of concern, scooping the boys into games while I paced the kitchen. The granite counters I'd chosen for their cool permanence now mocking my naivety. He used them. I spat when the kids were down for naps. My own blood, playing me like a mark. Anthony pulled me close, his shirt damp from the chill. "You're stronger than this. We fight smart." But the hurt festered, a black hole sucking light. That night, I drove to Kenosha alone, rain sheeting the windshield like judgment. The McMansion loomed, lights on in the den. Dad's silhouette pacing, Mom's shadow fluttering like a trapped bird. I didn't knock. The door yielded to my shove, bells jangling accusation. They startled, Dad with his pipe, Mom clutching rosary beads. "David," she gasped. "Save it." I thrust the printout of Mark's confession, pilfered from the lawyer's prelim report. "He stole from me. For you? For family?" Dad's face crumpled. Not defiance, but defeat. "We didn't know. He came to us, desperate. Said you'd help being, better off now. Better off." The euphemism for my sinful life, now twisted into leverage. Mom wept, reaching for me. "Forgive us. We've lost so much. You lost me years ago." The words hung, heavy as the humid air. But as I turned to leave, Tommy's face flashed. Curious, loving, unscarred. Ben's giggle. Anthony's hand in mine. Humaneness isn't absolution. It's choosing chains broken over grudges forged. "I'll handle Mark legally. No charges on you. But this." I gestured to the house, the life they'd built on exclusions. "We're done." Back home, Anthony waited on the porch, bundled against the sleet, his embrace thawing the ice in my veins. "You did it," he murmured. "The hard part. We made love that night. Not frantic, but deliberate, bodies mapping forgiveness in the curve of hips, the salt of tears mingling with sweat. Marry me," he whispered at dawn, ring box appearing from nowhere. A simple band, silver as promise. Not for money or pity. For us. Tears pricked. Yes, God, yes. The wedding was a quiet rebellion. Spring equinox on the bluffs overlooking Lake Michigan, wind whipping wildflowers into frenzy, the boys in tiny suits scattering petals like defiant confetti. Anthony's sister flew in from Seattle, her hug fierce and unapologetic. My parents sent a card, stiff and signed, but enclosed check for the boys' college, a brittle olive branch I cashed without reply. Mark, community service and restitution. His apologies voicemail ghosts I deleted unread. Betrayal's sting faded, not to forget, but to fuel. I funneled chunks of the windfall into a foundation. Burdens to blessings. Scholarships for queer foster kids. Homes for single parents grinding under the boot of bias. "Turn the hurt outward," Anthony said. His hand on my back at the first gala. Tucks sharp, eyes proud. "That's you, David. Alchemist." Life unfurled like a long exhale. The house became haven. Tommy's room a chaos of model rockets and history tomes borrowed from Anthony's shelf. Ben's corner a zoo of plush dinos, where he'd stage daddy rescues with me as the hapless hero. Mornings, Anthony and I'd sip coffee on the deck, planning vacations. Yellowstone for geysers that mirrored our eruptions of joy, or just quiet drives up the Door County Peninsula, windows down, his playlist of Springsteen anthems underscoring the ordinary magic. But humanism isn't fairy dust. It's the grit in the gears. Conflicts lingered in whispers. Tommy's school bully sneering, "Your dad's got two dads?" Gross. Met with Anthony's calm assembly talk on love spectrum. My follow-up ice cream bribe turning tears to triumph. Ben's nightmares of old house monsters, soothed by stories of knights, us, slaying dragons, past pains. And me, therapy unearthed the rot. Dad's voice an inner prosecutor, charging me guilty for daring joy. "You're worthy," Anthony insisted during walks by the lake. Pebbles skittering underfoot, his arm my anchor. Burden? Bullshit. You're the lodestar. The real test came summer's end. A letter from Mom, handwritten, trembling script. "David, we've sold the house. Retiring to Florida. But first, may we see the boys? Just once. No strings." Anthony read it over my shoulder, his silence a question. "Your call. But remember, boundaries aren't walls, they're gardens." I invited them to the park, neutral ground, picnic spread with the boys' favorites. PB&J cut crustless, apples sliced into smiles. They arrived tentative, Dad in khakis starched stiff, Mom with a quilt from my childhood, faded but familiar. The boys approached wary. Tommy hiding behind Anthony, Ben clutching my leg, but curiosity won. "Grandma, why's your hair like snow?" Ben asked, and Mom laughed, genuine, kneeling to his level. We talked surface, weather, the foundation's first grad stories. Dad cleared his throat midway, eyes on the grass. "We were wrong, son. About you. The burden. That was our fear talking. Not truth. Apologies aren't erasers, but they sand the edges." I nodded, throat tight. It hurt, deep. But the boys? They choose love, not legacy. As dusk painted the sky lavender, hugs exchanged. Awkward, but real. No promises of holidays or calls. Just a door cracked for air. Driving home, Tommy piped up, "They smell like cookies, Dad. Can we go again?" "Maybe," I said, glancing at Anthony in the rearview, his wink saying progress. That night, as stars pricked the velvet dark, Anthony and I lay in the hammock, boys asleep inside, the lake a silver whisper below. "You built this," he said, fingers threading mine. "From ashes. For them. For us." "And you?" I replied, kissing his temple, the world vast and kind for once. "My better half." Years folded forward. Tommy acing AP history under Anthony's tutelage. Ben's soccer goals cheered from sidelines slick with pride. The lottery? A catalyst, not the story. Fame dodged, headlines spun to myth. But we stayed us. Flawed, fierce, family forged in fire. My parents visited sporadically. Thanksgiving's tentative, Christmas's warmer. Learning, slowly, the shape of amends. Betrayal's scar? A tattoo now, reminder that trust is rebuilt brick by vulnerable brick. In the end, it's not the millions that redeem, but the measure of heart. Loving through the wreckage, choosing light over the lure of lingering dark. Anthony and I, graying at temples, still steel porch swings at sunset. His head on my shoulder, whispering dreams half-remembered. The boys? Men now, carrying our lessons like compasses. Kindness as rebellion. Love as the ultimate win. And me? Once a burden in blood's ledger. Now ledger keeper of graces unearned. Free, finally, in the arms of the man who saw my worth when mirrors lied. That's the real jackpot.